Hello YouTube, I'm David with the David West channel. Well, today I want to do one of my favorite friction fires. Today I want to do bow drill, and I want to use my Swiss Army knife only. This is the Victorinox Fieldmaster, and I've used it on bamboo fire saw. You've seen me use it on several projects, but today let's go ahead and knock one out. I'm going to go ahead and make the set and the spindle, and we'll go ahead and make a bow. Now I'm not going to make just the simple bow where you tie around the end and you tie around the top. I like to go ahead and cut off the top. You've seen me do this before too. Cut off the top of it at like a 45, put a wide notch in the top and a through hole in the bottom. And this knife would be great for all of those features. So, and I want to harvest a piece of fatwood for the bearing block. So, might be able to break a piece off, might have to use the saw, excuse me, might have to use the saw on that also. So, let me get you a little closer and show you all 15 features of the Victorinox Fieldmaster. All right. And I always have my anchor point where I like to start at is this biggest blade, because it's easy to see where it's at, and then you can associate everything in relation to this big blade. So we have the big blade, and then on the back side of that big blade is the smaller blade. Right on this back edge right here. And next to the big blade, opposite the point, you use your fingernail to stick up underneath the edge of the saw. And the saw comes out. And then next is the scissors. And it's got a thumb notch right here for the scissors. And then the last two on this farthest edge over here is going to be the can opener with a small straight screwdriver on the end, and then the bottle top remover, which has the wire stripper. Not sure what gauge wire that looks like, possibly 14 gauge wire to strip the insulation off of, and then a larger flat screwdriver. Then on this back side, the reason that I chose the Fieldmaster is because I didn't want the corkscrew. And then about 6 months later I started drinking wine where I needed a corkscrew. But anyways, at the time, that's why I chose the Fieldmaster. And these screws right here were 3 inches long, and you use it like a T-handle, and I mean it cranked those big long screws down into the table. Really tough. And the next one is, oh, the package carrier. There's the thumb. Find the, no, that one takes a fingernail also. It doesn't have a thumb notch for the package carrier. And Dave Canterbury showed a good way to tighten up lashings with this, and I have used it to tighten lashings. And then something we're going to be using today is the awl. I had a video one time where I sewed some denim up and made like a little satchel out of it, using this as a sewing needle. But mostly I've bored a lot of holes with this. So I actually bored these through holes right here with this. Boy, that took some time too, because that's 5/4 board right there, but it did the job. So, and lastly we have toothpick. And a little set of tweezers. How cool is that? So, I wasn't counting, but that should be about 15 features. What a great knife. And we're going to prove it again today. Let's head on out into the woods and get some materials. And we got plenty of fat wood here. Let's try to pick a good one. I'll bet you this will be a good one here. Yeah, I can whittle down to the most concentrated part of the fat wood on that. So good, we got our fat wood bearing block out of the way. All right, this looks like it'll be a good one. For the spindle and probably the bow, I'm going to cut it down as low as possible. Let's see if I can get to it. Well, I didn't have to cut that. So let's go ahead and cut it off right here. All right. That's my bow and my spindle. Now I need a thicker piece for the fireboard. Let's look up through here. There's 3 pieces of privet. That's going to be the spindle, the fireboard, and the bow. And then I found this poplar here that we'll use for the tinder bundle. This is Tulip Poplar. Good stuff. It's a little bit moist, but as hot as it is out today, today's 94 degrees. As hot as it is out here, when I process this up and lay it out, it'll be ready to go when we make our ember. So, Tulip Poplar Bark. All right. Let's lay the privet aside for right now. I'm curious where the actual fat wood is at. If we're lucky, it's right on top right there. Let's dig into it. Well, that's definitely not it. I'll keep digging on it. Let's try this side right here. It's got a good strong smell. I don't know if you can see all the concentrated fat wood in there, how thick it is. That's going to make a good bearing block. So let's go ahead and start processing the Tulip Poplar Bark. First thing I like to do is to peel away the outer bark and just leave this inner bark here. You want to get that outer bark off of there. Yeah, you'll be losing a little bit of fiber, but it's worth it. Makes it a lot easier to process it up into something fine. if I wasn't rolling this outer bark off in this manner. It's the same thing when you're trying to split something and you try to make it split evenly, that you put more pressure on this, on the opposite side to where it's leading to. Now that's all good inner bark. It's going to be a lot easier to break that up. Still takes plenty of work though. I mean, sometimes you get some tulip poplar and the fiber separates easily, but pretty much you're going to spend some time with it, but it's worth it because this stuff here is highly ignitable. Here's some of that poplar, like I told you, with some poplar, the fibers separate very easily, but this one's wet. But we got plenty of time. By the time I make the bow drill set, this right here will be dry. All right. I looked at the way all of this was shaped, and I think I'll use this for the spindle, this back end right here for the fireboard, and the rest of it for the bow. So let's go ahead and cut off the fireboard. As you see me using this table and using it for a straight edge and stuff, I know what you're thinking to yourself, and I need to remind you that I am not a survival channel. I am a hobby channel. I recommend that you take these techniques that you see here and you modify them to be just as survival as you want them to be.
And I think I'll use a round fireboard. So, how about a divot right here?
There's the fireboard, bearing block, and very yellow, unusually yellow, tulip poplar bird's nest. Alright, let's go for the spindle now. I'll set this off the table. This is my standby fireboard because it has some width right here. Now we'll square off 4 sides on that. Just the usual routine. I'm going to come up with 4 square sides for that, and then we'll make it round. All right, Now it's got 4 basically square sides, and I'm just going to round it up. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight, but the straighter you can get it, the better off you are. So let me pick my worst end for the bearing block and my best end for the hot. This is going to be the hot right here. Usually I have a more blunt end for the hot end, but since we're doing a basically round fireboard, that'll work for the burn end. That'll keep it from sliding off. And we'll put a pencil point on this side for the bearing block.
And I keep eyeballing it. I keep eyeballing it for it to be in the center. From here over, you want to eyeball it and get your point in the center.
Alright, I'm going to go with this blunt point right here for the bearing block. And this for the roundish fireboard. Good. Now, let's go ahead and make our bow. And since our bow is right here, we'll bore a through hole right here, and we'll cut our angle right here. About a 45-degree angle right here. So our slot will be right there. So we cut that off, we'll have a knot on this side. The string will come down in that slot across the bow and go down into the through hole. and then a through hole. We'll use the awl for that. Looks like it's going to have to go up here because of the face of this. That's all right. All right, we are ready to go. I'm just going to use this piece of bark right here for an ember catch. And when it's 94 degrees out and your camera is in the sun, your cell phone camera's in the sun, it cuts off. So let me undo this and I'll show you basically what you missed. I just bored most of the way through on one side, came over to the other side, finished it up, and then bored it out to the complete thickness of that awl right there. Nothing complicated. Let me get the ant off my leg. Then I had this orange piece of paracord, and I took and I heated this up until it was molten, and I wet my fingers and I pushed it out like that so it'd be pointy enough to go through here. So this is the way the slot works up top, and like I said, there's easier ways to do the bow. This is just the way I like to do the bow. And this goes down through here. And I want to leave just a little slack. It ain't gonna take much because that's not a very thick spindle. So let's try that right there, see. And then I wrap the slack up around here, tight as I can get these winds. And then I finish it off with a half hitch and cinch it on down. That's it. So let's go ahead and do a burn in. And that'll give us an idea how well a bearing block's going to work. Now, we've had rain every day, from a smattering to a heavy downpour every day for over 2 weeks. I ought to do drying cycles, but I'm going to try to get away without doing drying cycles. Search my channel for drying cycles. It's a technique that really works great on damp wood. All right, let's go for the burn in. Now I'll take them corners off. Let's do it now. And I'm going over to the table, and I'll use my saw to cut the notch. we'll see what we can do with this. Doesn't look perfectly round, but I think it's going to work. Be right back. I got a little off center. Privet rarely lets me down. So the saw's a little slow, but it's very sharp and it gets the job done. All right. Privet on privet, Tulip Poplar bird's nest, fatwood bearing block. Everything freshly found materials today. Everything processed with the Swiss Army knife. Let's see if we can get an ember now. Looks like it's trying to go out. Let's see if it catches up. Yeah, it caught up. Good. All right, let's take a look at the bearing block. That fatwood did a good job. And little tiny spindle, as big as my pinky finger, did a good job. Love that privet. And there's the ember. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Let's see how this Tulip Poplar Bark does. Wow, that turned out great for such a hot day to have to do it in. How about that Victorinox Fieldmaster Swiss Army knife? Did a great job. Well, there it is. All freshly found materials. Even though we've been getting rain every day for over 2 weeks. All right, y'all. I appreciate you joining me on this one. We'll catch you on the next one.